旅おしまい。
Why did that mute itself?
Welcome back, Dragon Ballers, to Get the Mic, the only show where the host on your left, Owl,
And your host on the right, Brock.
dissect fiction for its mythological significance. On this episode, we are going to be continuing the dissection of Dragon Ball and going into episode 130, Goku's Doll. Before we do, a couple things. I see you two waiters who were waiting before the stream. Call you waiters because I saw you waiting really hard right now. Anyways, welcome. I did want to say one thing about the copyright claim we had a few episodes ago. That got lifted. So feel free to go back and actually watch that episode without a giant sun in the middle of the screen. You're free to actually just watch it. Other than that, I think we're ready to go. Anything on your end, Brock? I know it's been a couple weeks.
No, I'm just I'm excited to get into it again.
Well, let's get into it then. So episode 130, Goku's Doll, starts with Popo preparing a clay version of Goku. I guess Goku wakes up first, and Popo gets this idea when Goku keeps asking for an opponent. And so, oh yes, the water of life. So the water of life, Goku sees it. Popo uses it to make everything up here have life and be pristine and all that. And so he comes up with this idea, and that's where he starts making the clay version of Goku. And let's see. Goku's a little impatient about it. And that's pretty much it for this first part. I have a couple things to say, but I'll let you go ahead and go first, Brock.
Well, the water of life, it's interesting just in the sense that it's one of these key components that you always see like in the garden, for instance, right? You've got the fruit of the tree of life. And I think that's kind of a continuation of this idea that like in this place that Goku's in, which is a, sort of a higher state of being, uh, it's almost as if, and we saw this with Shinron as well when they brought him back to life. There's this ability to give life that is exclusive to this domain, and I think the water of life is a continuation of that. That is sort of showing that essentially this is where that comes from. Like this is the source of the things that nourish things and give them life down below.
Can you go on from there? Like, what's the extrapolation?
Well, the idea essentially is that things that happen up here, which this place up here is sort of like this higher sphere of it's like heaven. It's this place where ideas emanate down and then are given life below. And so the idea of having this water of life up here where it's as simple as just watering a plant and it's given its ideal form of life is sort of it's a high concept idea. It's where the idea of life comes from. So it's like life as such here, and then that idea is represented down below in the world where it's not as simple as just, you just pour water on something and it's been given life.
I got you. I got you. I just wanted you to explain that more. I think that's a really good point. Because it is like a child drawing what a tree is. They don't draw like a tree in multiple stages. Really not in autumn. Most of the time, it's a green tree, or like kind of what we see here, right?
Like a platonic form, right?
Right. Yes. And another thing is it's really good symbolism to have it be water because the ideas flow down. Why does it say you're muted? I'm gonna unmute you on this one just to.
Because I muted myself.
Oh, I see. You freaked me out. Um. Anyways, uh. So yeah, it's a good representation because like ideas that flow down from either the muse, let's say, um, water flows downward. This is where I'm getting at with that. And so, one thing I do want to mention, though, before we go on, is that the reason that Goku is kind of focused on this water of life and all this to begin with is because he is still trying to train his mind. So, we saw last episode a little bit of Goku doing that, but it was very rudimentary. It was if we remember, the best example they have in the recap is Goku using his ki to make a way in the fire, like a path through the fire. Which is it's not done well. And so in this episode we're actually going to see this kind of lesson done well. And I think that's the other thing that was about it is that's kind of been Goku's not go to every time, but like he has gone back through the ancestry and the ancestral wisdom to try to gain wisdom and courage and strength through that process many times. And it is to say here that's not the method that you can achieve this level, right? You can't go back to Master Roshi's time and get the wisdom from antiquity per se. It's a personal thing. And so this will be an expansion on that. And I think that that's where we're getting at. That's why it has to flow down from above instead of flowing from, let's say, ancestry or heritage, something like that. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I think that the last episode, in trying to represent ideas, just kind of broke with the symbolic structure of what's happening uh here on the tower, which is essentially, we're dancing around the idea of it, but it's that imminence and emergence. And you and I have been talking about that off and on for the past couple of weeks outside of the show. This conceptual uh this thing about how there's a realm where thoughts live, that thoughts and ideas are real, and that they're given life through an embodiment. And we're dealing a lot with that here with this higher realm of thoughts and ideas and platonic forms, you could say. But it starts, the idea that it starts here is kind of this conception of the way that things channel also in the body. Like the body is a microcosm of this, where a thought starts in your head and then it moves down to your body and your body acts it out. And this is going to the origin of where the wasted movements and the inability to move in that flow state starts, is at the top, and then it emanates down. So this is Goku in the brain, let's say, going back and forth with Mr. Popo on the realm of ideas. He's like in the brain of the world, but he's also trying to solve something in his own brain, his own head, to approach it. And then that fix then emanates down through his body, but also emanates down to the world below, because he's operating as an idea up in this higher realm of ideas, let's say.
Right, and the thing that connects those to the earthly, and this the lookout or the upper world is the connection with the ancestry, right? So it's able to buttress him up here, but it's not able to carry him through. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of, it seems to me, and man, every time I think about this show, it blows my mind. But it seems to me that the story was strong enough to kind of correct itself, even though this is filler, correct itself from that, because it kind of, when you look at this episode and last episode together, it does really paint this picture of like the time room was a total failure. There was no point in Goku going there. And here it is a lot better done, and it shows that it is of that transcendent plane. It has to come from that, because what did Goku do last arc? He redeemed his spiritual father, and the spiritual father of that, right? The multiple generational, right, spiritual fathers. He redeemed all of them by defeating Piccolo. And now the idea of evil, the seed of evil, and the idea of vengeance and generational violence is what Goku has to contend with. And so Popo has to get him ready for that. And what do you do with that? You go back to Master Roshi. Of course, you don't, because you've already passed that point, right? And so
Hence
this,
everyone else, being kicked out of the Kame house, so to speak.
mhm. Yeah, and that's exactly it, is because that would be unhealthy for them to stay there. And I think, Roshi kind of understands that. And I think that's exactly what the story is getting at, when Goku really doesn't achieve anything there, when he achieves a lot more in this episode, let's say, before getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you agree with all of that?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it, and to be more specific about what you had said earlier, because we haven't talked about it in a long time. The ancestry that guides him to this point is the Noibo, right? The power pole that he
Yes,
has to
yes.
ride up to this point represents that ancestry, the thing that was handed down to him, and all of that. Um, that is a vehicle by which he's able to get here, but that's not something that can teach him to suppress his key. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means as we get further into this episode and the next episode.
Yes, and right, and that's to say too that the wisdom of ancestry can buttress you to a plane of higher thinking. I think that's
It can
a
tell you why, but it can't tell you necessarily how.
sure.
Right.
And
It can tell you why it's important to be able to control your key and to move the way that it does, but it's not going to teach you how. That comes from, well, where we're at now.
right. And so let's go ahead and continue. Let's do that. There we go. Yep. So yes, they start talking about the training, and Popo's like, I'm not gonna train you. Oh, I guess the water of life does that too. He's kind of amazed. What we were saying earlier, this is kind of it would be imminence, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And so Goku kind of interacts with this, and Popo tells him he's going to bring him an opponent later. Really, we don't have anything else much to say here. Goku's excited. There is one thing that's funny. He says that he hopes his opponent is just like him, at least in the English dub, which is just it's ironic, but it's also on the nose. It's just a bit of levity.
Yeah.
And we see the little clay guy here, which too. Let me go back to that. I just want to mention this is characterizing Popo as we've been saying in this this like vein of emptiness, and him not being able to create the doll on his own is super, like, it's super on the nose, right? Because he needs something to fill that void that he represents. And so he can have this vessel that's a doll, and that's kind of what Popo's trying to get Goku to be as, and that's why it's ironic. But he needs his hair, and I think that's a good way to solidify how we've been characterizing Popo as this openness and emptiness.
Yeah, I think that it's important in a couple of different ways. Number one, the hair, just as an image, is something that sprouts directly out of the top of your head, right? It's an emergence out of your head, but then it's also used just sort of in a colloquial sense to represent getting someone's DNA, right? Like people use it all the time for like doing DNA sampling or to show like as someone uses it to make a clone. But in this sense, what he's doing is he's creating an embodiment of Goku without the mind. And the mind is the important part here, right? That he's showing that the potential of Goku's body, the thing that comes out of his head, let's say, um, without the mind. And so it's like he's making just a body of Goku, but not really the thing that animates Goku. So he needs a piece of Goku to create the embodiment of Goku. And what this episode's starting to differentiate as we get into the next step is like mind and no mind, right?
Mm-hmm. And I was just saying too that he has power over these kind of vessels, let's say.
What do you mean these vessels?
So like the doll being a vessel, right?
Sure. Oh, I see what you mean. He creates a vessel that he
Mm-hmm.
himself cannot fill, but he needs something to
Yes,
fill it with. Yeah.
yes.
As a representation of that emptiness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I was getting. Let's continue. Unless it froze, which it did not. There we go. So then we get to Tianxia. Let's speed this up. They're just running. That's literally it. That's all that happens. They're going to Corn Tower. They pass this old guy. They pass this car guy. And they climb this cliff guy. That's pretty much it. Do we want to say anything about that?
A little bit about it. There are parallels between certain things whenever we're going between Goku and the boys. As soon as we're done with this scene, then we get to Goku training with the doll, and the whole idea, essentially, that I think the whole purpose of this sequence is to show that like they are the fastest in the world, right? They're outrunning the fastest person on the road. We see like the guy with the sports car that's doing 200 miles or kilometers an hour. And they're just like, they're easily just running past him. So it's not speed necessarily that is going to get them what they're looking for. And then we see immediately after this, whenever Goku's training with the doll, he can't just win by being fast against it. It's just as fast as he is. So we kind of see that like they're showing, they've obviously completely defeated this domain, let's say. And then it's kind of used in juxtaposition to Goku, who is on the same speed as his opponent, but that doesn't give him the ability to actually win. So like their speed isn't the point, and we'll see, like being the strongest isn't the point, being able to climb the best isn't the point, right? So I think the only reason that we have that scene is just to be as a juxtaposition to Goku.
Well, and I also think this is the start of their 3-episode arc, right?
Yeah.
The boys. And I actually do like that level of analysis. Um it's a good way to have the wisdom be escaping them still, and it's that's kind of the thing that they're gonna discover too, is like running the fastest and all that, and even thinking you've mastered your domain. I mean, the next few episodes, the boys are gonna run into something
Hmm.
that's gonna be a little hard to master, let's say.
Yeah, and we'll get deeper into that in the next episode for sure. But I think that's setting up that juxtaposition.
Yeah. Not much to say, but yeah, that's a good way to just finally put a pin in it. And then we get back to Goku, of course. And so here, Popo finishes the doll, and he comes out to fight Goku. So Goku meets the clay doll version of himself, and the doll looks like Goku, but he has a mask that's half red and half white on. And as they start to fight, Goku realizes that he has all the same moves as him. He moves the same as him, and that it has no. Popo tells him that it has no mind, like it can only focus on fighting, and so Goku has to fight this thing and win, basically, and that's his challenge for the day, the training for the day. So that's when he says, "Yep, right there. His power and speed are just the same as mine." Um, Something else that happens is Popo Popo distracts Goku as he tries to like focus and like pops balloons and stuff. And Goku tries to use the after image technique, and the fight's pretty even for a bit. Um but Goku's basically getting the worst of it. And then he finds out here. We'll pause it here. What do we want to say before the mask comes off?
Well, one thing that Goku points out is he says to himself in the sub of it that he can barely sense his ki at all, meaning he can sense his ki some, that there is some ki coming from this body, but he can barely sense it at all. Which, just to go in line with what Mr. Popo was saying, was that it can focus, but only on one thing, so it doesn't leave a lot of excess ki, let's say,
Yeah,
and
it's
that Goku has the ability to read some ki because prior to coming up here, he basically didn't understand what that even meant, what sensing ki was. So we're seeing a little bit of progress for him in that he's able to sense some of that ki, but it doesn't stress that or anything. It's just a throwaway line. But I think it's important to point out where Goku is in that progression. Um, and then Popo popping the balloon is pretty obvious. It's just showing that the single-mindedness of the doll obviously overcomes him in the fight because Goku is not of one mind. He is still easily distracted. And as one thing I want to point out too is Goku can't control his mind, and it's shown in the sense that while he's trying to meditate throughout the day, it cuts to him being like, "Oh boy, I can't wait to fight my new opponent." He's too focused on the potential to fight, so he's not making any progress in his meditation, right? He's not of that one mind. He's all over the place.
And so Popo basically says, "Okay, well, I'm gonna let you fight, and you'll meditate while you're fighting." Basically, we'll get to that though. I want to say a couple things. The first thing is the mask, his hidden identity, which we'll get to in a minute. We all know that it's surprise, it's Goku. But the hidden identity, I think, is so that Goku can't just use the excuse of like, I know these moves already. He wants him to have a fresh take on being able to try and sense his ki. And I think too, the one of the reasons he's able to do it, even though it's just a little bit, is because it's his own. He's kind of familiar with it. But another part that is it both goes into the mask and the substance of this doll itself is the earthly, right? This is almost like a not a perfect earthly being, but like in a goodness, what do I say here? It is kind of perfect for its purpose, let's say. Uh because what happens in the world when people are single-mindedly focused at an earthly task, right? How far can people get with that? It's a very large domain to ask, right? And so basically this is the version of Goku, or the version of the self that can do that. And is there a transcendent mode of being beyond that? That's basically what Popo's trying to get Goku to even understand or contend with.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Baze? So the identity goes along with that too, in that it could be anyone. It is the cell. It can be mapped onto anyone, right? And I don't have we
Mhm.
talked about how the upper world, the lookout, is a map?
Yeah, yeah, that it
Okay.
essentially looks like the scouter.
Yeah. Just making sure we talked. I couldn't remember. It was
Yeah,
like
the
2 years.
I don't think it's like necessarily even accidental that the mask is red and white, you know, that there's classical delineations like all the way through. Like I've pointed it out and it's been probably years since I've mentioned anything about this, but alchemical patterns in Dragon Ball and the
Yeah.
red and the white being this sort of marriage of masculine and feminine in like the rebus. This entity that he's fighting is balanced, let's say, right? That its tempers are put into the right place so that it's not too focused, but it's not too chaotic. It's basically Goku if his mind was balanced in the sense that it's empty. Um, but I think that there's something about that just where that kind of shows up a lot of times throughout this show and through other things that are a little bit more symbolically inclined. And like I know a lot of people listening to this will be like, "Well, that's not part of the manga because he didn't draw it red and white in the manga." Just in response to that, shut up. That's all. The but I think that it's not accidental, but it's accidental, right?
It's serendipitous.
Yeah.
Anyways, we can continue now. So, surprise, it's Goku, like we said. Now, and I think that's actually another point before we move on with what you were saying about the admixture, the masculine and the feminine, is that it could be anyone. It's the self, right? And so this idea could be anyone and anything, and these dolls could be anyone and anything that can be filled with whoever it is that is in there. And I think that is also another layer of the what Popo really represents and what power Popo really has.
hmm It's kind of like the mask is a cup and the cup is filled with Goku.
Oh, don't you start with that. Call him the drink. Anyways, so then we get our little interstitial here. We got our surprise fake out that it was Goku the whole time. And let's see, we get on this. So eventually the clay doll. Oh no, that's not it. So as Goku tries to quiet his mind, he tries some other tricks, runs around, and he's trying to best the doll using what we were saying earlier, like I'm gonna be the fastest, I'm gonna be the strongest, all that. And Popo keeps reminding him that hey, he has to use his ki, sense his ki. That's the only way he's gonna be able to defeat the doll. It's the one thing, the one mode of being that can be transcendent over this mode of being. And so Goku also tries to use a Kamehameha wave, which gets dodged by an after image technique, and he basically gets slammed. But he says that the doll is much stronger than him, and Popo tells him that he's the exact same strength. And we I think we're about to cut here. Oh, actually, no. This is important because it goes back to when Goku first gets there, and Popo tells him that that's the training that he's going to have to do. Is he's going to have to quiet his mind. He's going to have to be as quick as lightning. All of that, and that's kind of been the message over and over throughout this filler arc. And so Goku tries it first, and he does exactly what he did the first day. And he turns into a rock, basically. Well, actually, we'll
He
pause
makes
it
his
there.
face into the Popo face on Goku, which I
Yes.
love. Every shot in this episode where it cuts away to the Popo Goku cracks me up. Like, it's
Popoku.
so funny, just the blank stare.
We'll leave it there for a minute. Um, yeah, it's pretty great. But yeah, he does that same thing though. He does this on the first day when
Yeah, he tries to core in it, right?
yeah, he's like, I'll just map this exact thing and copy it. And it's like you have to be better than what you're contending with, right?
Yeah.
See,
It's ironic, like, Goku is trying to fight a copy of himself, and the only way he can think of to beat the copy of himself is to be a copy of the copy at this point. And Popo's just kind of like, I already told you that doesn't work.
yeah, and being um like doing this is not the same thing. It's not the equation. But Bays said a mind divided against itself will not stand. And I think that's exactly what we're getting at in the way that we're talking about the doll being so powerful is because it is of one mind, right? And
Yeah.
so since Goku is all these other things, worrying about his next fight, right? Not focused on the energies about him and the key that the doll is emitting, it is preventing him from being able to be all that he can be, basically. And so um that's exactly right. I think that is getting to the point. Anything else we had to say? I think there's a couple things if we want to say here. The Kamehameha wave doesn't work. It's not that he like the doll doesn't tank it or anything though, because it is I guess I would say it is in the
It
realm of
misses.
ideas, and so like Goku can say like,
Yeah.
really, you're not real. It's like, okay, whatever, that's
It
fine. But
misses the point,
yeah,
right?
exactly, and maybe that's why it gets dodged, right?
Yeah, it's not even that he can tank it. It's just like not the point. It's not they're approaching this truthfully isn't necessarily the thing that's going to give Goku the information that he needs to be able to contend with it. It's a realization that's higher than just accepting the truth. Like
Now he's like,
he's not
it's true that this is a mode of being that's powerful, being single minded at something. It's like, yep, that's
he's
true.
like, and it's true that I could do that too. It's like, yep.
And here he is right here on screen doing that. I love how he gets smacked right away as well. It's just so brilliant.
Yeah, it's played comically, just like obviously he gets smacked down. It's not like, oh, it didn't work. It's like obviously.
Yeah, it the comedic timing really sells it as that was just a stupid idea. So let's see what else in this little section. The running thing, the speed, we kind of already talked about that. Yeah, we can go on. So the last part of this episode is super awesome. I like it a lot. So we get a time transition. It's been all day. And basically Popo's going to let this doll kill him because this doll is the same strength, has unlimited stamina, all that. Because it's an automaton, it's an idea more or less, and so Goku's running out of it's both mental and physical fortitude. It's physical fortitude in the manifestation that it's expressed in the show, but really it is mental fortitude in trying to envision a higher mode of being than a like perfectly oriented earthly mode of being.
Yep. And it's interesting, the way this plays out, right? Because he finds himself with his back against the edge of the lookout, and it reminds me of that thing with Yajirobe, right? He's like, I'm waiting here to catch him if he falls off. Um,
I thought
Goku
about
falling
using
off
this shot for the thumbnail, but go ahead.
is a good shot. But that's what Yaj is talking about, is that if Goku fails here, then he'll be a physical embodiment to try to help him back, to so that it doesn't kill him. Let's say that if he can't, uh, if this attempt at enlightenment doesn't work, that there's Yajirobe down below ready to catch him. But him losing to the double here is symbolic of him essentially not being able to, not being at that place where he could even possibly envision what it is that Popo's trying to show him. And that would be rightfully him being kicked out of here, because that's the whole point of him being here, right? And so when he finds himself up against the edge, that's when he has to, in order to remain in this realm of ideas, let's say. And so for a split second, he's able to, but only whenever he's driven right to the edge of being basically kicked out of this realm of being.
It is, and it's really a brilliant way of presenting this, is that it's Goku's failure to conceptualize a mode of being beyond the earthly that will send him back to Earth. And
Right.
so it's a perfect manifestation of it. It's both it synchronizes so well. And then the other thing
Oh,
is,
and also the fact, that, like I said earlier, it's an earthly, in the sense, like, it's an embodiment of Goku with no mind. It would be his own embodiment kicking him down to be just an embodiment that isn't a manifestation of ideas instead, right?
mhm, exactly. And that's it. It's his own failure of it, right? And it's manifested as himself, which is just it all works really well. What I was gonna say is though, uh Popo is trying to give him this last chance, right? And it is basically Popo cutting the cord, like saying, you aren't getting this. You've you failed to get this like multiple episodes. It's actually one of Goku's worst training arcs, let's say. In the sense that like he doesn't just succeed at it like that. Where, with Roshi, like he's better than Krillin, he's faster than Krillin, all that. With Korin, he does better than Master Roshi. He does it way faster than Master Roshi, all that. With this, it's like Popo's about to kick him out. And he
Yeah,
has to
this is.
become, which is funny you said earlier, but he has to become a cup. He has to become a vessel for those ideas to flow through him, right? Otherwise, he can't stay here.
Yeah, he has to become as the doll is, which is an instrument by which these higher purposes move through him, and he needs to be able to do that in order to contend with the idea of evil, let's say. Um,
It also
and so,
opens up his character to like the character's personality, Goku's personality, to be open to other aspects and multifacets of his life, right? Because if a person is open to this chaos of the world and is let's say there's nothing standing in the way, they're empty in that way, so they can be accepting of the positive things that occur in the universe around them, etc. um they then can be open to other aspects, which we'll get to shortly. And it's one of the reasons why uh, I think that Goku's maturity in the next few episodes is going to shift dramatically. Is because of that.
mm,
What do you think of
uh,
that?
yeah, I think that, not to get ahead of ourselves, but that's also part of why when we see him again after this little arc, he seems way more mature, right?
Mm-hmm. And this is one of
Physically.
like the great like no one talks about this training arc. I know it's filler, but like no one talks about this training arc.
Yeah, no, this is one of those things about Dragon Ball that people just kind of hand wave away and say like, "Oh yeah, that's just something that happens." And there's no like reason for it, or there's nothing to really look at about it. It's just kind of entertaining. Um but that's where the details are really hiding in Dragon Ball most of the time, are the things that seem very simple on the surface that you go, yeah, well, obviously he does that, or yeah, obviously he would respond like that. If you treat things as if they're not that obvious, then it becomes clear that those are the episodes that have the most meaning for character development for someone like Goku, who on his surface also is just like, oh yeah, he's just simple. Obviously he would do this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he has to have depth, and he has to be able to become that vessel. And so this is where
Yeah.
his quest has led him on the edge right here. And so what happens is the doll gives him a last charge. He's like about to pass out. The doll gives him a last charge, and he goes Ultra Instinct and knocks him down and kills him. Well, he doesn't actually kill him, but he he instinctually, and this is what he says here. Let me rewind it. He closes his eyes. He doesn't see it coming, and he says, "Wow, my body moved naturally." Right. The ideas of Ultra Instinct are basically done here. I think that Brock and I agree on that. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean that's fundamentally what Ultra Instinct is supposed to represent, I think, and Super is
Is
that
to be that
place
vessel,
where
be the emptiness, to react in the way that is harmonious with the universe. I think that's
exactly.
exactly what it's supposed to represent. Right.
And it's cool. Super represents it in a cool looking way, but it doesn't earn it in any sense.
It's so much better earned here, and this is filler. But yeah, so Goku says, "Wow, my body moved naturally," and he starts fighting with the doll again. And Popo's a little impressed, and he says he has to remember the feeling of what Ultra Instinct was like. I guess I'm just gonna call it Ultra Instinct now. So he
Yeah, we'll just
closes his
call it
eyes.
Instinct to make people mad.
We're just gonna call it Ultra Instinct. So Goku goes Ultra Instinct here, and fights the doll, and he's pretty successful. It's actually working. This is actually the what he has to be. He has to be open to the flows of the universe, such that he can react and act in a harmonious way. And that's kind of what's jiving with this. And that's actually one of the things that's symbolized here. Let's just back up our stuff with actual footage. So if we look at the ripples in this, you can see it on the stream, right, Brock?
Yeah.
So if you see the ripples in this, as the doll approaches, they're all just normal ripples, right? It's only here when he gets close, it's like the disharmony of the universe is occurring, and so then Goku can react to it, and that's like the whole universe and gods thing. It's all
Yeah.
here. He's up here in upper
Yeah,
world
see,
with
I like
God.
the yeah, I'm looking at it now too. It's like you're seeing ripples on ripples that are kind of disharmonious, right? And,
Yes.
and like even there you see like the squiggly ripples and everything. It's like he's finding it's a good way of putting it. He's finding disharmony, and through the fact that there's a little bit of disharmony, which is expressed through excess key, let's say. Excess key. I guess we can talk about that after this too, but he's sensing disturbances from Ki being not perfectly in alignment with the universe and then can respond to that.
Yes. And that's exactly what Ultra Instinct is. It's actually, Brock said it was done in a cool way in Super. I kind of think it's done in a cool way here.
I think it's a lot cooler on Dragon Ball, but only if you're paying attention.
And so we get to the end of the episode here, and Popo tells Goku that he didn't win. The waters of life have merely worn off of the doll. And so the doll has turned back into clay. And while Popo is kind of dismissive at the beginning, he does say, like, you're making some progress. So
I think it's interesting here because what we see, Goku says, I succeeded in suppressing my ki. And Popo says, not necessarily, it's just that the doll's effects have worn off, right?
mhm.
And I don't think it's as simple as that. That's what Goku says. And I think that more of what he did was sense ki in this scene.
Yes.
That's the visualization we see is him sensing the ki
What's
coming
the
off of
first
the
step,
doll.
right?
But he didn't necessarily conceal his ki. We didn't Now he had a bit of an after image of himself, and then he kinda came in, and that could be a representation of him doing that, but, Popo says that's not what it is, right? So I think that fundamentally what the purpose of the scene was to show that Goku is getting better at sensing it by calming his mind. Sensing ki and hiding your own ki are 2 different things, and that's gonna be continued in the next episode with him, right?
Right, exactly. And Popo says he has a long way to go, which is what I was getting at. Like the 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 encouragement is somewhat there. He was like 5 seconds ago about to just send Goku down. So saying you have a long way to go is like telling him he gets to stay more or less. And so Goku can like rest now. And so he does instantly. He falls asleep, and then we get a shot of the boys swimming towards the sun. They're going west. They're on their journey to the west to train with Korin, and Goku sleeps up there among the stars. So that was episode 130. Let's go ahead and get some things out of the way. Go ahead and give us your take on Key while I pull the episode back up.
So on ki, we talked a little bit earlier in this episode about mind and how the doll is kind of like Goku without mind,
Mm-hmm.
and Goku is not concealing his ki at all, and he's not able to control his thoughts. And there's a lot of interplay just throughout all of this arc of Goku and needing to empty his mind, but it also tying in now they're explicating it as hiding his key, as concealing his key, hiding his key, and also sensing key. And there, I think that we're now getting a little bit of a hint of what key is and has been and how it's been used throughout the show so far, which is that your mind is, like I said earlier, representative of, in a microcosmic sense, this place in the cosmic order. And that when your thoughts and your ideas are not in alignment, you are not able to conceal your key, which is sort of like your will and your energy and your willingness to pursue what your thoughts represent leaking out of you and having a physical manifestation. So the fact that Goku can't control his thoughts and he can't rein them in and or even empty them out is also it's representative of his of what ki is and how we see it in the show when people use ki blasts, let's say. It's an extension of their will. We've talked about this before, how these battles using these abilities are representative of ideas like the kamehameha being the truth. Now we could extrapolate that further and talk about how the kamehameha is someone using their their will and their understanding of the idea of truth to confront something in such a way that it disseminates that, and that it's them using that will, using that idea and their ability to articulate that idea in the using of magic words and act out those ideas and like pushing them into the world to do those things. So it's kind of it's tying that back in and showing the origin of where that key comes from and why it is that those key blasts are representative of ideas, right?
Right, not all key blasts are. I think some of it, and like what we'll see later on in Dragon Ball Z, for example, um, they're not really as representative of ideas. I think the Kamehameha
Yeah.
wave is pretty special. I think the Dodon ray is pretty special. I think a lot of the earlier ones are more specific for a reason. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, I
But
think most of the ones prior to the Cell Saga that have names and are used multiple times fit into that schema. But as far as someone being able to just like put their hands out and blast out key blasts is sort of like this
you were
it's
bested by my
shorthand,
blade.
right? It's like you can think of it as a shorthand for an intellectual disagreement with ideas clashing in real time in the physical world, right? Um without having to extrapolate it out to like this is the idea and the philosophy that's being represented. It's more like clash of ideas, you know, idea attack. But it ties it all
Interesting.
the way
Okay.
back to what we've talked about with our analysis, which is that it's on and on that level of ideas that it's you're letting ideas flow through you and out through your body as an attack on someone else's ideas.
Right. And I think
And also in response to Bayes,
it's almost okay, go ahead.
yes, to the Gohan versus Cell thing.
Oh.
the Everything comes back in Gohan versus Cell. It's sort of a fulcrum of what Dragon Ball Z is
I really hope I
in a
didn't say on
sense.
the stream earlier that we shouldn't do Cell. I hope that wasn't said because I was a million wrong if I said that.
There was a time, but you turned on that pretty quick. Um,
I was never in the position I was like, no, there's nothing good in Cell. We shouldn't talk about Cell. I was always like, there's some problems with Cell.
yeah, there definitely are some problems with that point, but man, the longer we spend the more time we spend talking about the ideas, the more Cell becomes more of like a like an inevitability. Like he's imminent for what the Z themes are, right?
Yeah, I feel him in the background of this stream right now. Goodness. Um
Yeah.
anyways, oh goodness, I was gonna say something. What were you just talking about?
I mean, just about ideas.
Oh, that's right. I was gonna say my what I think of Key, and it is the I think there's something to do with channeling with Key as well. I don't
Mm.
know that the Kamehameha wave and Key. I don't know if they go too. They're I don't know if they're inextricably linked. Is what I'm trying to say. I think the Kamehameha wave is kind of unique. Um,
I would say the Kamehameha wave is like the primordial key blast. Like it is the best idea, which is that the truth is important and should be respected. And you
and then it
use that
creates
idea
chaos
as
from order, or I mean order from chaos.
yeah,
Wow.
and you can use that
Can't
as
say
the
what I was saying.
foundation for all of your other ideas, right?
Right.
Because as long as you're arguing in good faith and you're approaching things honestly and truthfully, it is by default the right way to approach things. Um, so I think that there is a link. I think they are linked. It's just that in a hierarchical sense, we're introduced to it first, and Goku's able to do that immediately
But I think we're
because of
introduced to it
and
first because it all flows down like the water of life to the rest. And what
yeah,
I mean by that is what we're saying. So the strength of the key is going to be dependent on the representation of the manifestation of that idea within the universe, let's say. I think
and how well the person wielding it represents the idea as
well, let's
well.
say how well, not even represents the idea, but how well they allow that idea to possess them, more or less, right?
Mm, yeah,
And
to flow
so,
through them.
yeah, and to
You
flow
mentioned
through
the
them,
channeling, yeah.
and then they embody it, right? And so, yeah, I mean, all of that. I think that is actual, like, that's key. Key doesn't actually, um, I was gonna say come from the user. There's a aspect of it, but it is and
Yeah,
it's the reason why
where does it as
there's
an
not a
idea come
cap.
from? Yeah.
It's the reason why there's not like a cap in Dragon Ball, because it's not like it's intrinsic to the user per se. Um, but the power of it is indicative of what we were just saying.
Yeah,
So,
I think the thing to point to as a teaser to say that it continues as a concept is the spirit bomb, which is something that the scope of which transcends the instantiation of the user, right?
yeah, exactly. And that one's kind of unique too. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
all the
But
ones that Goku steals, but
but it's key based and it's called the spirit bomb, which in Spiro it's inspired. It's spirit and spirit emanates down from the higher
but
realms, just like ideas
let's
do.
not go
You know, it's
too
all
far. I don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
analyze any that we haven't gotten to yet, let's say.
Sure, but you know, I think I'm not 100% married to this idea that that's just what key is. I don't think that I'm fully articulating it right now, but I think that
Do you
generally
like
speaking,
well, what do you think about what I said?
Which aspect?
Well, what I was saying about how it is the let's say propensity for a person to embody the cosmic reality, more or less, is, and that's
Yeah, no, I
the
100%
indication of
agree.
ki. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not a representation of physical strength, right?
Hmm. And it couldn't be.
That
It's a
people have
spirit
another
attack.
meter
How
that's
could
not
it
their
be?
stamina.
Right. Exactly.
And that key is essentially that it's like spirit. They wield this spiritual energy, which no one ever asks where it comes from. This spiritual energy until they're all out of that energy. Now, things like a Senzu bean can regenerate someone's ability to use ki, but I don't know if they get more ki. I think thinking of it in a cosmic sense, I think you're right that people channel ki through themselves, like they're a vessel or they're a weapon for the ki to flow through them. But that they're almost divinely inspired through them, right? Like
Hmm.
divine weapons that are beyond themselves that they can hold temporarily.
Right, exactly, and it is they hold them, like, think about the hand motions you use for the Kamehameha wave, right? It's like you hold that, and like other
Or
key
like the
blasts you
destructo
hold,
disc.
and Destructo Disc, yeah, you hold
Yeah.
and all that. Um, but yeah, that I think that's really a good, hopefully succinct way to put it. But in that,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
think
what
I think
Goku's
that's
trying to understand here, right? And let's tie it back all the way to the episode, is that he's trying to understand he's trying to understand in what way is his opponent manifesting a cosmic reality. How does that function in the universe? And then he can see them, and then he can dodge their attacks, and then he can understand them, but he hasn't understood that yet, and that's what he's trying to get.
so yeah, reading key would be along the lines of understanding the pattern that they're embodying such that you can actually understand the way they move possibly even better than they do,
Right, because
which would
if
allow you to go beyond a physical instantiation.
right, because you know where the idea leads, let's say,
Yeah.
in a dialectic
It's like
almost. You
it's
can
like reading
even
symbols or
mhm, mhm.
symbolism.
Exactly. And so that's what Goku's trying to achieve, not what he's achieved yet, but what he's getting closer to and what he's being allowed to stick around for. One thing real quick, but turn the band back on, because did we talk about the boys swimming?
Not really. We said they swum.
They did swim. Yeah, they swum. They swum. Oh my goodness. Um they're swimming towards the sunset. They're swimming toward the west. It is kind of the whole thing we focused on this episode was the water of life, the flowing down of ideas. And so they are trying to, it's almost them swimming upstream here to get to a higher plane. They're trying to get to Korin, which would be higher than what they know, but not as high as what we know about Goku's level of elevation. And I think that brings
Yeah.
us really towards the end of the episode, everyone.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. One other thing that I want to just shout out: Bays asked if we have seen Queen of the Night yet. I unfortunately have not. I said that I would. I have not yet. I will, but I haven't. Um, just been pretty busy. I think that Owl's also been pretty busy. Um,
It's
we go
true.
live as often as we reasonably can, which that kind of is an testament to how much we're busy.
Yes. Without going into too much, Brock took a trip. Brock had lots of work. I had lots of work. And that's it. So we'll be back when we can. Might be sooner than
Yes,
you
heading west
think.
does matter, Bays.
Might be a little sooner than you think. But, anyways, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Goku's opponent is Goku, everyone's favorite title from episode 130. I've been your host on the left, Owl.
I'm your host on the right, Brock.
And we hope you guys have a good night.
In an enchanted land that seemed untouched by the steady march of time, there lived an old master named Gohan, who found a baby boy abandoned in the wilderness of the region. The old master raised the boy as his own child, and marveled as the youngster grew and became uncommonly strong. Now the boy, known as Goku, is on his own, and has become the sole guardian of his grandfather's most mystical possession, his Dragon Ball.